Hi, this is Luke, and welcome to the 45th episode of DETERIORNATION webisodes. Five more to go till we are mid-century, and the non-linear platform will be implemented fully. It will be up to you, the viewers, to absorb the content and treat it like a Where's Wally book, animated Where's Wally book. I suppose with fundamentalist Christians, their life has meaning thanks to the crucifixion. Not that they hold the crucifixion in contempt and reprehension and are disgusted and offended by it, and as a result, they have a hard time being sleuths who will say, something is afoot. Even if we grant them a foot, like just 1 foot, because 2 feet have a nail in it, so they'll never work out that something is afoot, and and then they'll want to say that be so brash as to say that objective moral awareness is impossible without the existence of the Christian God. Yet you can be a rapist and serial killer in jail and accepted into the Christian faith if you mumble a prayer when a priest visits you in your jail cell. Yet they want to say that terms like good are meaningless without the existence of God. And they want to say man is born in a state of original sin from which they need God to save them, and that this state of original sin is apparently less reprehensible and of less import to invoke the evangelical Christian with their training in making new disciples. To remove this original sin, we say, came from eating an apple. It's a strange system of religion indeed, that men should have to be saved from the sin of eating an apple by doing a murder on Jesus Christ. This is the sickest religion ever set up. And this original sin, saving people from it, is of less import than potentially rejecting a rapist and serial killer in jail from being eligible to join the ranks of the Christian right and movement. How pathetic. So when Roger Toll would talk about, in response to comments from staff about what he does in this corrections business of his, I'd be interested in knowing how many managing pharmacists within the Capital Group are truly aware of this nerve-by-nerve process of his Does it not mean that he's constantly framing the issue over and over again relative to his unit of measurement that he deems a nerve? Why did he arrive at the insistence that such a process is very precise, or indeed the best way to study? And epistemology is comprehension of the way under the system he uses now. If he imposed his system on anyone in the group that attended the Lake Krakenbach conference for the year that Roger hosted a game of How to Host a Murder, he would have to treat them for the conflicts he identified that were acquired during the night that the staff played How to Host a Murder. Because, one of them was the victim, one was the murderer, the others were decoys, and the others had to try to solve the case, and all those conflicts. Gary Cairns would be there to call them stupid fucking dreamers. Not, have we got a shit detection system? It is ridiculous. The man is a hypocrite. He only loves having responsibility about as much, if not less, than he loves having irresponsibility, and being more hypocritical than Christians. And I do enjoy calling Christians out on their hypocrisy. So those GST Freemasons.
Actually, it's not relationship with Jesus, it's faith, voluntary action.
It's funny to imagine Roger's competitor in business being once again cloaked behind a pretentious veil of claiming to know how to represent and cater to the health, professionally tend to the health needs of members of particular rights movements that he doesn't even think merit the time of day from him. But he will, to save face, he'll want to make some facetious aesthetic, create the appearance of weighing in and caring. So he'll look into the lyrics of David Bowie from Rebel, Not sure if he's a boy or a girl, or Hello Space Boy from the mid-90s with the Pet Shop Boys. Do you like girls or boys? It's confusing these days, but moon dust will cover you. And that sort of talk, this bisexual doesn't know if he's a boy or a girl, to try and seem like he's sensitive to the movement. Roger Tall's the sort of man who would say, we should cater to male bisexuals' menstrual needs. Be prepared to sell them pawn stand and over the counter period pain pills. Yeah, no, just too far gone, I think.
And it says, it pleased the Father to
the man really is too far gone, except to use his remaining time to publish a book on why he thought being fascist and establishing his own little conopoly. I wouldn't call it a monopoly, because it's a division of healthcare that's subordinate to doctors and really should be humble. To be a ruthless monopolist in that profession whatsoever is to suggest he's corrupting it, and corrupting yours and my rights, and he's good at that.
By humans. 30,000 versions of Christianity.
Roger Toll also shares in that Christian trait of stealing the credit for things that which he didn't do, as well as assigning blame onto others wherewith it was never deserved by those others. And that's how I'm not sure if he's, Gary's known as like a grand poobah in his Mason church. Was accorded such a name due to his involvement in the Masonic Church. Maybe the way the Masons see it, they don't have enough key players in strategic locations, so they're like, we've got you here in Big Pharma, the more people in possession of medicine that you can martyr, the better for us in our church. Martyr the fuck out of them. Especially if they think they're Jesus followers, just martyr them. They'll just go poof. Martyr them. Martyr them. So what Roger and Gary are like, yeah, sure, we'd love to do that right about now. And so that's what they've been doing. But it's weird too with Roger's theory that a homosexual male is embarrassed has an embarrassed memory involving themselves and their mother, that they, like a truth that they buried so deep that it turned them off. The prospect of their mother handing them fully grown into and celebrating a union, be it with that of a long-term partner or a spouse. And yet homosexuality is observed in sheep. Now, did those sheep have weird attractions to their mother before they had homosex with other sheep of the same gender? Was it only after desiring their mother first that happened?
When there's been a totally atheistic regime, there's been
hello Instagram, you all look very pretty. Stay alive. And I'm Luke Banton. I have an official YouTube channel. You're all invited, but hello Instagram, I love you. I think there should be a word, maybe like hopiate, like to be hopiateful. Could be a word for a state of being where you're holding on to your hope and you enjoy the support of your opium, hopiate. Beats faith. Theism. I think quality of life is certainly enhanced when you make the effort to comprehend the minds of people who are the creators of new questions. To me, that's more interesting than income. But this life is all there is. So it's indeed a pain, I guess, an additional pain, knowing my sanity has been contested by someone who's an offshoot of the Freemason Church. They could call themselves instead instead of the Masonic Church, the gay race, moronic, sonic lurch. Wants to contest my sanity, I would say, come and talk to me then. All I'll do is unearth your knobshine beliefs and explain how they will compromise your ability to judge sanely. Koja. We must be getting old. I wonder if that is sort of what they mean when people talk of other people projecting. And you know, Roger's statements during my employment, having that pedo element to it. It's as if he maybe he enjoys these lies to distract himself from how he himself is quite unappealing. So he looks to excuse himself by falsely claiming to have detected a sexually embarrassing moment in the lives of some people too young to even know what that is. It's like yeah. You can't even say physician heal thyself, because that's I think he would know what that sort of standard entails. Pain today is somewhat subdued. I'm noticing I can breathe through both nostrils simultaneously, which is I like having that back. Not really regretful at all for having made some enemies. It means you've stood by what you. It means you've stood your ground. I suppose it's always them that move first. You kind of wind up letting them move first to see what it is that they. Traitors and betrayers, fucking game, there's no fucking players. So it is actually in a way quite sickening to observe the proactive attrition of these right-wing psychologizers. Anything you're into, they'll try to psychologize any song. It's got to be about conflicts within the family. They're essentially waging some sort of concealed religious war against an individual's right to interpret to wonderment. You think of the idea of people hating what they see in themselves, a Freemason mocking imagination. Well, he's doing that because without imagination he wouldn't be able to be a Freemason, because Freemasonry is not based on discernible truths. So, they're really mocking themselves. It's more humble to admit that imagination is imagination. That's what it is. That's the humble person who actually knows that, sticks by that. It's always going to be religious believers that hate and try to indict and psychologize imagination, and they aren't telling an art, and they aren't being truthful. They're envious of the fact that art probably pretty much is the last remaining form of spirituality that can be comprehended as genuine. The other beliefs, the world's belief systems are too totalitarian and unilateral and pathetic. They're kissing ass to art anyway, in secret. The masks come off at the staff conferences, and they celebrate the same thing that they misconstrue as conflicts during their so-called work. This Freemason defeating the routine. The Freemason catches and beats the Christian, and the Freemason winds up being the ideological victor over the Christian and martyrs the Christian. They're so addicted to that routine, Gary and Roger, that they'll even want an atheist to assume the form of the Christian so they can martyr them. Like, is that your... That's seriously your ethic concerning the practice of martyrdom? Is that a person who... are you trying to say you want to martyr the rights charter? So it's a grandiose ideological cause to comprehend one's own and everyone else's rights to life, health, privacy, movement. Why is that an ideological cause? That's just a private sector company taking too much for granted from our Constitution. I got a cause. I'm an atheist. When I talk to religious people, I don't tell them that, you can't be my friend because you're religious. It's just, it's interesting. It's like they assume the form of that religious criminal but just from another angle. Basically, I think Roger should know, and Gary, when they're both not welcome. For them, with the power they have, in the commerce sense, the arrogance that subsists due to their, you can be. It's funny that it's ironic that I use the word nosy, given the cyst I was given during my assistance to the business. Fucking nasal cyst. He's got to hide to call me nosy. What's positing that Lucifer exists and is in some sort of relationship in your head with you, and that's not a form of nosiness at all. That's their weak-minded, pathetic excuse for, why they think they've got grounds to stick their nose into someone else's private life. Any citizen, ACT. they don't comprehend when they've gone beyond being rude. Yeah, I don't get them thinking I'm nosy. What's sticking your fucking nose in the ass of a supernatural being? Help me find the ones to martyr Lucifer. Blah blah blah. We're GST Freemasons. That's a sad element of, I think it's only really ever a sort of semi-superficial symbolic context in which frontline eccentric artists are, mentioning the devil in lyrics. The devil beneath my feet. Devils I make and the love can't relate. Then the knowledge that secretly these Freemasons think that these bands are tooting their horn, the church's horn. Try asking these Freemasons what's meant by universalism and equality. They probably don't even have a definition for it. While they themselves suppose they're in league with a supernatural being, Lucifer. And he exists in their head. Think back to when Gary Cantor would say, capital chemist supports the businesses that support capital chemists. Because my question would be, would capital chemists support someone starting their own business if they once worked for capital chemists but then left and decided they would rather not do business with capital chemists anymore and go away after having been caught out on numerous acts of privacy violating at home and breaking their privacy rights while such a person as me who's at home, going back to earlier this decade, so if you've left on terms of irreconcilable differences, I will not be returning. And once you wish to go to do your own business, well, they've already worked against that because anything that's outputting to video is making me. Well, now it's making my thumb disappear. Jerks. Is Puff to fuck with Pal talking about him. How important Roger Toll's work really is. Roger Toll's cause is superiorly important. It's very important. He has a special cause. Is Puff to fuck with Pal talking about him. How important Roger Toll's work really is. Roger Toll's cause is superiorly important. It's very important. He has a special cause. So yeah, I think that getting psychologized is part of your attempts to make and establish and build on a progressive career arrangement. But or this so-called psychologizing is going on in the minds of the owners. And be careful because they're so precise, because they're Freemasons, because they are part of the 16th century church and actually haven't even probably heard of the names of any post 1950s existential psychologists or anyone like that. I like Simon Cohen. I think he's the cousin to Sacha Baron Cohen, who is like Ali G and Borat. Um, he's quite a well known and well respected professional, and his expertise in things like autism has earned him a lot of notoriety. Uh, I don't just like him because of the fact that he's um, related to Ali G, but yeah, it could happen to anyone. It's a phenomenon I want to make sure that entire societies are aware of. Is like if you're in this weird uh if there's this ambiguous dynamic going on between the boss of the company and you, and you're not sure what he's saying to other people about you, and you're not completely sure why he's said what he has said to you, and you never know. You might want to leave the job on the sole grounds that the decisions that the boss has chosen to make, or the owner has chosen to make in relation to you, have created this stupid ambiguity that is just you don't even want it weighing on your mind, because you went to that you joined that company so you could do a job. You didn't join it so that you could listen to like in the end I learned it was like, it's like, what if a Freemason from the 16th century fell into a portal in a Doctor Who episode and wound up in the 21st century, and it was his job to profile this bunch of stuff. But what he's doing with and I'd love to see a single qualification in his name that references psychiatry. I doubt that Roger Toll has any. Uh, Otherwise, given the sorts of statements he makes to people, he would want to be showing his qualifications well ahead of time, so that people knew that when he wasn't to be contested, so that people knew when he'd had them outsmarted and wasn't to be contested. But uh, obviously, no one is going to let a person who has incorrectly comprehended you in some respect go on and force you to wear the brunt of a bunch of statements made throughout your career, uh, because he thinks it's the conclusive results after his findings from a study a study based inquiry into a person's life. Yeah, and you have to be very careful with, I think, psychiatry. I think because of the uh, people should want it and want to ask for it, and be able to approach the profession on their own terms, not have to worry that they're going to have their entire life uh, compromised because they thought that the statement uh, to approach and place any sort of trust in one of society's agencies claimed to be in place for helping benefit human health was something that they could ever place, yeah, actually take seriously and go, well, all right. If instead, my experience now has me like I'd have grounds to be frightened of going to any store, pretty much. No, not any store, but I'd have grounds to go, well, that's probably not, that's definitely not what it says it is. That's definitely not what it says it is. That's definitely not what it says it is. But this man Roger Toll is the sort of person who thinks he can just he thinks he knows that he has the right to go, well, behave. it may be the truth that, this, and this happened around you in your past, and so therefore, because of it, you're going to grow up mature, and you're going to perform this act and this act and this act and this act, and we can just tell that, and we know that because we know about all this sort of thing. He doesn't, and when he tries to make certain statements, and he must even know that at most, when professions like psychology and psychiatry come up with their worst of the worst, uh, you know, all of their claims about behavior are pretty much based on known case precedents, and I don't think it's right to, no, people aren't taught the difference between knowledge categories and subjectivity and objectivity, and it's not right to um, it's not right to just damn people, I think, and that's more or less what they're into. That they don't want to call it that. They want to say certain families have weak genes. So we tried to help them, but they're just part of that. Uh, Not we're into population culling because we're Freemasons. uh, the Freemasons. If Gary Cairns and Roger Toll are prepared for me to explain that they also consider themselves ambassadorial representatives of the Freemason Church, then that'll be all part of my trip to America too, and I'll make sure that you know, their knowledge is so profoundly amazing. Um, they've said this. No, yeah, they'll be. I'll explain they operate in that category too. I would actually say be wary of anyone who's concerned with healthcare, anything that you know thinks of concepts of monopolizing, because there's really only yeah. I just think the idea of a monopolist in healthcare, to me, that's more dangerous than any of the rock stars I know and love could have ever been. You know, yeah, because what do you have to do to become a monopolist in healthcare? Or get all those anyone in your way out of your way. The guy on crutches, the uh, yeah, good one, Roger. Uh, no, I'm starting to wonder. He's giving me that impression of his church that Her Majesty nor any other establishment provided adequate acknowledgement of the importance and significance of the Freemasons' Church, neither in the 16th century nor now. So here's Roger to become the correctional profiler. Set everyone right. That is the joke of the decade. I'll always remember the years where, after Roger and Gary were content to make the Capital Chemist slogan, everybody needs us. I was watching videos about where bodies have been thrown in concentration camps, and I was thinking of how Gary loves calling everyone love, and I thought, geez, it is. I may wear cosmetics, but you really know how to put why are you doing this to us? Was my immediate thought. That's what I wanted to say at the time. Why are you telling everyone? Why don't you put up a slogan saying, "Hi, it's Roger and Gary. Investigate us for potential for conspiracy." They might as well put that up on their slogan. Everybody needs us. Everybody needs. Uh, it is too reminiscent of a uh, Christian youth leader talking like that. I see it to be impressive, and yeah, my idea is better. Fucking sad to hear you're sick, uh, but you're fucking welcome to into our stores. Something like that is, I think, more. I mean, what is it you actually want everybody to think about if not everybody's going to Capital Chemist, and um, yet the slogan is that everybody needs them. Like, right, so you guys know health needs that well. Anyway, I'm glad I'm not helping them with marketing. Uh, I also think that, yeah, if you were to work a few years in his business and then talk to him, say, are you the sort of person who would be prepared to um, uh, boost one's own capital by crunching on the bones of the sick and impoverished, um, just for the opportunity to boost your cred aesthetically in the public eye. And then Roger told it would in response would go, "Are you wanting to do a deal with me or something? Are you wanting to do a deal with me of some kind?" That's how he'd yeah, that's how he would think to reply. Yeah, all in all, the two coolest. Hang on, I could go. I think I can go further. But let me have just a moment to consider. Yeah, okay. I would say that Meredith, Tony, Lamb, and Alan Jackson are the three best pharmacists that I knew in those 9 years. The importance of relativity, that's not where Alan got this idea from, but he would talking about substances and saying that the operative word is may. This may this may that. Sort of it's similar to it's along the same lines to that some of the lyrics to "I'm a Goddamn Motherfucking Gettin'" by Manson from 2009. Results may vary, side effects are vary. So, yeah, I can't stand like absolutist, like fascist, absolutist, right wing. Uh, yeah, especially in healthcare. And I also think the concept of a monopolist in healthcare is like there almost shouldn't be such a thing. It leaves room for the prospect that some really dodgy deals have been done for them to get there. Um, uh, so I need a US holiday on just on the grounds that I happen to be one of the proofs of such a that such talk is true. I did start to wearing cosmetics, maybe approaching October in 2003, but I did it knowing that I understood that it says nothing in and of. I don't think it should be I'm opposed to stereotypes in principle. I think, but they exist nonetheless. But I don't think that a person wearing cosmetics says anything in and of itself. But it's always interesting noticing those that do. It bears out in the way they'll talk. Um, And that's more or less where I stand on that matter. Uh, in terms of movements that do have integrity and I think are important, the bisexual rights movement, defending it doesn't mean you have to well, actually, I don't think you even have to be a bisexual to defend the bisexual rights movement, but I think that movement is potentially more important than was more important than theism in Christian churches or in you know it's an oddity in the Christian rights claims that and profound and even this Freemasons are just about as dumb as the Christians, the fundamentalist Christians in that respect, because and prone to temperamental acts of various kinds from because of their temperaments, um, just in a way that's no different to a fascist, twisted church leader. I've listened. I had even buddied up sort of with a girl that sold cosmetics at the chemist, but she even had a propensity to say or a tendency to say, "Oh, you're doing that. You know what that means, right? You're doing that. That." And she thought that she had this sense of objectivity in describing things. It's if you pay attention to when you're trying to work out who your real friends are, and you pay attention to it's not just being like the little guy in the group, and then you know are picked on by a certain number of people, and then someone sticks up for you. So you think, well, that's very kind of you. And I did show I was thankful for that quality in a person. But then ultimately, you watch and observe how often you're asked what you think about anything. We watch for the level of those who take, oh, but I just thought, and that's how they conversate. They'll excuse themselves in conversation, going, "Well, I just thought," and the truth is, no, you assumed. How often do you hear the word "assume" is in their vocabulary, um, and how often do they use the word "assume"? And like, I think they even make they give statements that begin with the words "I thought" a bad name because traditionally, like, and since Descartes, those sorts of people did a bunch, some sort of inquiring to arrive at opinions. We have cliche statements going around like Salt and Pepper rapped about them in the 90s on the album Very Necessary. The opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one. And, if your opinion is not even comprised or reducible to ideas that you hold that you could express as statements beginning with the words "I think," "I thought this," "therefore I thought," or "therefore I thought this," or "therefore I thought that," you would find that would then reduce to a lot of conversations that would be question marks where you'd be saying, "Well, did you even ask this person what they thought about this, or this? Did you even ask? Did you even ask about that?" And they'll go, "Oh no, no, we just thought." It's like, well, that's not even correct use of saying, "Oh, I thought," because you didn't actually. If you assume, you know. So that isn't to say I don't think I'm indecent to true friends, and even true friends can are welcome to challenge my thinking on various subjects. Of course, it winds up becoming part of why I respect them. But yeah, would we have statements like "opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one" if opinions weren't comprised of uh, conclusions reached without inquiry or questioning at all? And a lot of that, you can trace that back in capital canvas to Gary Cairns' hysteric Masonic opposition to curiosity. He thinks is destroying the individual. He thinks on some level, like curiosity killed the cat, that sort of. Yeah. It's a tragic thing to see because any scientist should, like, I've watched stories where a scientist spent like 30 to 40 years of his career building a particular theory, and then another scientist came along and falsified some of it, the most important ideas in that theory, and the physicist broke down crying, and then they made friends because this other physicist had in fact been partially inspired by some of the ideas in the other guy's theory. So they wound up sort of shaking hands, and the guy said, "Thank you. You destroyed my life, like the most comprehensive theory of my life's work, and you destroyed it." And so scientists, they say that about why science is to be respected, is because it's meant to be that sort of profession where if one scientist falsifies another scientist, then it nonetheless still proves that the scientific method and the ethics surrounding the application of it are respectable ones. But then it also shows that, yeah, it's the pursuit of truth that they're both mutually able to agree matters more to them. The mutual interest in the pursuit of truth more than a conclusion, and that conclusions can be overthrown and overturned. And if that happens, the scientist that made theory A is impressed by the newer theory in theory B. Einstein didn't want to lend any credence to claims and arguments by Niels Bohr concerning quanta and in quantum mechanics. He was calling it spooky mechanics, and he'd completed special and general relativity, and he was looking at these ideas from Niels Bohr, thinking, "Fuck." But Einstein wasn't so. He wasn't walking around saying everybody needs special and general relativity. uh, you know, and then what's the most what's the aspect of business in the business world where if scientific method is being applied at all, it should be applied with more care than if you're studying paramecium, try to eat algae. Maybe the treatment of other human beings in healthcare. Uh, um, and so, without having the chance to review some of their paperwork personally, I think it's fair enough for me to say that the choice of words and the wording used when Gary Cairns and Roger Tor frame the issue and um, define, the conflict or conflicts pertaining to this or that such a given person. They'll always be worded. The wording that they will implement will always be either poor then or getting to be good enough to be logical. The logistics of a potential criticism aimed at the teachings of the Freemason Church, because that's the belief system they never turned back and looked at, criticized, and then decided, oh, we've outgrown it. We think we now know better than this church. See, that's where they differ to me, because I'm free. I admire. There's a man named Michael Shermer. I used to have his autograph in one of his books called why people believe weird things, and he talks in that book a lot about the debunking of pseudoscientists. Actually, he also appears interviewed in one of the episodes of Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller's bullshit, and Shums talks about the experience of deconversion for him, and because he was going around door knocking to try to teach about Jesus Christ and create more Christians. He talks about how he felt after he deconverted, and he was moved to the point of going back to knocking on some of the same doors of the same people's houses, saying, "Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong religion," and apologizing. Actually, I'm not sure if that's a story he just tells, um, or if, yeah, I could see him doing that though, because he's got a great attitude. So if yeah, it also shows, I guess, that you have no problem potentially thinking of having a conscience that can comprehend errors, because yeah, I'm prepared to say that about Christianity. It was an error. I in fact will say that I would love to attend a debate or a discussion with someone who says they are a theist, but that they love critical thinking and logical fallacies, and they think that despite what's known in terms of fallacies in logic and errors in judgment, that they think that they have an a priori um, argumentative rhetorical proof for the existence of a deity. I would love to join them in discussion and debate them. Yeah, but so so for those two guys, those two men, Gary and Roger, they yeah so yeah, as I've already said, I know that they miscomprehended me. Uh, you have to be. I would almost say like if an employer, there should almost be a law, a commerce law that if an employer has sized you up for his company, and judged or assessed you in a certain way, he should be obligated by law to give you a document, so that you can have a copy of how he first assessed and first comprehended you at the start of your employment, or else you have no idea of how to know, like, I mean, it's supposed to be in the context of romantic relationships where with songs are there portraying ideas like it all begins where it ends, and who wants to have to comprehend and employ an employer by getting close to those sorts of terms. But uh, it's true enough to say that, well, the way a manager of a business might size you up and describe you prior to you working in that business, they will also be the basis for how they're partial to talking about you to other people in the company who might also not talk to you for the same reasons stipulated in that manager's profile about you, profile like document about you that you haven't had a chance to read. And yeah, but,